Creepy travel destinations. I'm a fan of them. You're probably a fan of them if you're here. I've got a big list of them that I want to go over with you guys, which brings us to YouTube. Hello, how you guys doing? What's going on? Some of these you guys may know about, some of these may have flown under the radar. Either way, they're all very interesting places, and I've picked a few of them today. I forgot how many there are. There's about 5 or 6, I think, and we're starting right off with the heavy stuff. Mexico's Island of the Dolls. Deep within the Xochimilco canals, I've probably butchered that, but it's fine. Just south of Mexico City lies a small island where hundreds of decaying and weathered dolls hang from trees and buildings. Their empty eyes and broken limbs, creating an unforgettable eerie scene. This place is known locally as Isla de las Muñecas. The story goes that Don Julian Santana Barrera, the island's former caretaker, moved to this isolated spot in the 1950s. One day he reportedly found the body of a young girl who died in the canal. Shortly after, he found a doll floating in the water, which he hung from a tree as a mark of respect. But Julian was convinced the girl's spirit haunted the island, and to appease her restless soul, he began to collect more and more dolls, hanging them all over the island. Over the years, Julian amassed hundreds of these dolls, each one adding to the island's bizarre and sinister look. Some were found floating in the canal, others were collected or traded for crops. They hang by their necks, some missing limbs, others with heads or eyes gone, and many are weathered by years of exposure to the elements. Their eerie and decaying faces give the island an appearance straight out of a nightmare. Don Julian's obsession with appeasing the spirit grew. Locals say he became increasingly isolated, often speaking of whispers and voices he heard on the island. He continued his ritual of adding dolls to the island until his mysterious death in 2001, where he too was found dead in the spot where he claimed to have found the girl. Today, Isla de las Muñecas is a macabre tourist destination, attracting visitors drawn to its haunting mystery. Locals say the dolls are still alive with the spirit of the girl, or perhaps the souls of many who drowned in the area. Some visitors claim they feel watched, while others claim they hear whispers in the wind. Whether you believe in the legend or not, there's no denying the Island of the Dolls is one of the creepiest places in the world, where the line between superstitious and reality blurs. Now, personally, I like the idea. I get it. I don't know what this guy saw. I don't know what he heard, but if that was his way of showing his compassion and showing his respect to the spirit by just throwing hundreds and hundreds of dolls on the island. Cool, he didn't do anyone harm. He was probably just traumatized from finding a dead young girl, you know? I don't know if it's a haunting thing or if it was just a mental either way. It's made for a really interesting story and a really interesting island, so it's getting warm. But anyway, moving on. Sedlik Ossuary. Tucked away in the small town of Kutna Hora in the Czech Republic lies Sedlik Ossuary, one of the most macabre chapels on earth. Known as the Bone Church, this chapel is decorated with the remains of 40,000 people, their bones arranged in eerie and intricate patterns. But let's uncover the story of this unforgettable and unsettling place. Sedlik Ossuary's story begins in the 13th century, when an abbot from Sedlik Monastery made a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. He brought back a small amount of holy soil from Golgotha, the site of Jesus' crucifixion, and scattered it around the abbey cemetery. This made Sedlik a popular burial site, as people believed it to be sacred ground. The popularity of the cemetery grew even more during the Black Death in the 14th century and the Hussite Wars in the 15th century, which led to tens of thousands of deaths. The cemetery became overcrowded, and a large number of bones had to be exhumed to make space for new burials. Instead of discarding them, these remains were kept in the chapel's ossuary. In 1870, a woodcarver named František Rint, apologies on the pronunciation, was commissioned to organise the vast collection of bones. But Rint didn't just stack or store them, he transformed them into art. He used bones to create everything, from a massive chandelier, which contains at least one of every bone in the human body, to intricate coats of arms, and even the Schwarzenberg family crest, complete with the raven pecking at the skull of a Turk. Everywhere you look, skulls and bones are woven into the decor. Rint's work has turned Sedlik Ossuary into a haunting masterpiece, both morbid and beautiful. The chapel's walls, pillars and ceiling are all adorned with skeletal remains, each one delicately placed to form patterns and symbols. While Sedlik Ossuary is a place of death, visitors report feeling an unexpected calmness here. This quiet, reflective atmosphere is part of what makes the Bone Church such a powerful experience. It's not just a tourist attraction, but also a solemn reminder of mortality. Whether it's a testament to the past or simply a curiosity, Sedlik Ossuary is a place unlike any other. A chapel decorated in death to remind us of life. It's a destination that's sure to stay with you long after you've left. Seems like with each one I'm doing, I'm taking more and more clothes off. Just very warm, I'm sorry. Another fascinating place. The decor is made out of 40,000 different people. It's mental to say that. The decor is 40,000 people. Yet at the same time, people see that as beauty. Cannibals have been doing that for years. We didn't call that beautiful, we called it terrifying. You don't hear much about Czech Republic, and when you do hear something about Czech Republic, it's fucked up like this. Next up, we've got the Hill of Crosses. In northern Lithuania, Lithuania, near the small town of Šiauliai, lies one of the world's most haunting religious sites, the Hill of Crosses. This solemn hill is covered in over 100,000 crosses, all placed there as symbols of faith, remembrance and resilience. Known as Kryžių kalnas in Lithuanian, the Hill of Crosses is a powerful symbol of both national identity and spiritual resistance. It's believed the tradition of placing crosses here began in the 19th century. After a series of uprisings against the Russian Empire, families and friends of those who lost their lives in these rebellions placed crosses on the hills to honour their loved ones. Over the years, more and more crosses appeared, and the site grew into a symbol of resistance. When Lithuania was under Soviet control in the 20th century, the Hill of Crosses became even more significant. The Soviets saw the crosses as symbols of defiance and bulldozed the hill multiple times in an attempt to destroy it, but each time they tore it down, locals returned in the dead of night to rebuild, placing new crosses in defiance of Soviet rule. Today, the Hill of Crosses is a surreal mix of shapes and sizes. Crosses made of wood, metal and stone cover every inch of the hill, along with rosaries and religious icons. Some crosses are small and simple, while others are intricately carved, but each one carries a story, a prayer or a memory, and visitors from around the world now add their own crosses to the site, leaving messages and prayers. The atmosphere here is unlike any other. The soft sound of wind rustling through the crosses, the layers of history and spirituality, all combine to create a place that feels sacred, even for those who aren't religious. The Hill of Crosses stands as a testament for human resilience and the unbreakable spirit of the Lithuanian people. For those who seek an off-the-beaten-path destination with a powerful story, the Hill of Crosses is a moving and unforgettable place. It's a haunting memory of the strength of faith and the enduring power of memory. Now, being honest, I'm not a very religious man, but something like that would fascinate the hell out of me. Like if I went onto this hill and saw hundreds of thousands of crosses chilling there. I'm already fascinated by graveyards and cemeteries and stuff. Like they give me good goosebumps, as in like something about the cross is very eerie at times, especially in the dead of night, because of the fact that we know of so many cults. Maybe that's just the vibe I get when it comes to like seeing a cross at night or something. You just expect something to be in a church, sacrificing a lamb or some shit. Anyway, moving on. Aokigahara Forest. On the northwestern edge of Japan's famous Mount Fuji lies Aokigahara, one of the most mysterious and haunting forests in the world. Known as the Sea of Trees due to its thick vegetation, Aokigahara is more famously referred to as the Suicide Forest. This dense, quiet woodland has gained an eerie reputation as the place where a lot of people come to end their lives. Aokigahara has a long history tied to death and the supernatural. It's said to have been a place where, centuries ago, families would practice ubazute, the act of leaving elderly or sick relatives to die. Japanese mythology also speaks of spirits, known as yurei, who haunt the forest. These are believed to be the restless souls of those that have passed away here, adding a layer of fear and folklore to this unsettling, quiet place. Today, Aokigahara's reputation as a suicide hotspot is well known, and authorities have posted signs along paths with messages urging visitors to think of their families and seek help. Police regularly patrol the area, while volunteers often search for missing persons and tragically find those who didn't make it out. It's a heartbreaking reality that weighs heavily on the forest's atmosphere. Adding to its mystique, Aokigahara is known for strange magnetic properties. The forest floor, formed from volcanic rock, can cause compasses and GPS devices to malfunction. This disorients visitors and gives the forest an unearthly vibe. Despite, or perhaps because of, its dark reputation, Aokigahara attracts a steady stream of tourists. Many come out of curiosity, while others seek a quiet, natural escape. Yet visitors often describe feeling a profound sense of silence and isolation within the forest. The thick canopy of trees muffles sound, creating an otherworldly stillness that is unsettling to many that walk there. Aokigahara Forest is a place of contradictions, serene yet tragic, beautiful yet haunting. It's a destination that serves as a reminder of the struggles people face and the importance of compassion and support. While stunningly beautiful, Aokigahara is a somber place that leaves a lasting impression on anyone that visits. I find it wild that in a place so popular like Japan, there's so many people that just suddenly get to that point where they're like, right, I'm going to this forest now and that's it. I'm never coming back out of this forest. How bad does your position have to be for you to get to that point? Right, this next one is one of my personal favourites. Bovilla Island. You're going to hear about the story of it in a second, but I almost visited this place with some friends. We had a boat ready and everything. Like the week we decided we're going to go, the island was bought and they started construction on it and we were like, fuck. They started guarding it more. It was just impossible. But now you're going to find out why I call myself the Battalion. Because I used to live 20 minutes from this place. Off the coast of Venice, Italy, lies an island with a sinister reputation, Poveglia. Known as the Island of Ghosts, Poveglia has a dark history filled with tales of plague, suffering, and paranormal activity, making it one of the world's most infamous abandoned locations. Poveglia's story begins in the 18th century, when outbreaks of the bubonic plague ravaged Europe. To control the spread of disease, Venetian authorities used Poveglia as a quarantine station, forcing those infected with the plague to live and often die on the island. Thousands of plague victims are said to have perished here, and it's rumoured that the island's soil is a mix of dirt and human ash. In the 20th century, the island was transformed once again, this time into a mental hospital. According to local legends, the island's head doctor performed cruel experiments on patients, subjecting them to horrific treatments that only added to the island's haunting atmosphere. It's said that he eventually succumbed to the madness himself and jumped from the hospital's bell tower. Today, Poveglia is abandoned. Local fishermen avoid the waters surrounding it, claiming that strange noises and cries are still heard echoing from the island at night. Despite its proximity to bustling Venice, few dare to visit and access is restricted. However, paranormal enthusiasts and thrill seekers continue to be drawn to the island's dark past, hoping to experience its eerie energy. The Italian government has periodically attempted to auction off Poveglia, yet every attempt has failed. Wait, really? I thought they actually sold it. That's why we couldn't visit. As though the island itself resists being claimed. And who can blame it? Poveglia's dark history has left an undeniable mark. And even today, stories of supernatural encounters keep the curious at bay. Poveglia Island is one of Italy's most haunted places, where layers of history and sorrow are buried deep within its soil. If you're ever in Venice, you'll see it out on the horizon. But would you dare to step foot on its shores? Man, I love Poveglia. If there's ever one haunted place, creepy place, scary place in the world that I need to visit, it's Poveglia at some point. It just needs to be. Even after the Ghost Adventures episode that I watched, just made me want to go even more. But yeah, I was positive that they actually sold the island, that's conflicting, that's weird. I have to look into it. Bonfire night was yesterday. Yeah, I've just heard more fireworks. I was going to record this yesterday, but it sounded like a goddamn war zone. Next up, Templo de San Juan de Chamula. I'm going to assume I just pronounced that properly and I smashed it. In the highlands of Chiapas, Mexico, there is a church like no other. This unique house of worship blends traditional Catholicism with indigenous beliefs, creating an atmosphere that's both mysterious and sacred. Located in the village of Chamula, the church attracts visitors from around the world, drawn by its fascinating rituals and mystic aura. Step inside and you'll immediately notice there are no pews. Instead, the floor is covered in pine needles, and rows of candles line every corner of the space. The air is thick with incense smoke, and the scent of pine fills the room. Local worshippers kneel directly on the ground, reciting prayers in Tzotzil, the native language here, creating a surreal, almost otherworldly atmosphere. San Juan de Chamula is a fascinating example of syncretism, the blending of Catholic and indigenous Maya beliefs. Catholic saints line the walls, but in a unique twist, they are dressed in traditional indigenous clothing. The rituals you'll see here are unlike any typical Catholic service. They incorporate ancient Maya practices, from candle lighting to ritualistic chanting. One of the most surprising elements here is the use of traditional healing practices. Shamans perform rituals that involve chanting, candles, and sometimes the sacrifice of a chicken to rid people of illness or bad energy. Offerings like eggs, soda, or even chickens are used as part of these purification rituals, believed to absorb negative energies and restore balance. While visitors are welcome to observe, it's important to be respectful. Photography is strictly forbidden inside, as the locals believe it disrupts the spiritual atmosphere and the sacred energy of the space. For the Tzotzil Maya, this church is more than just a place of worship. It's a vital part of their cultural identity and spiritual life. Templo de San Juan de Chamula is a powerful example of cultural fusion, a place where ancient traditions are preserved and practiced daily. This church, with its unorthodox rituals and deep spiritual significance, offers a rare glimpse into the vibrant culture of the indigenous people of Chiapas. When I first read this, the entirety of it was just like, this doesn't seem very weird to me, this doesn't seem very creepy. And then I got to the end where it's like, you're welcome to observe. And I'm like, that would be the freakiest fucking thing ever. It's like I was saying before, when you think of religion a lot, and the creepy aspect, you usually think of a cult, which is probably the vibe I'd get for just standing there and watching and observing what's going on. No disrespect to them, like, it's your religion, you do you. I would go and observe just out of pure fascination. Like, it would be incredible. Not so much the chicken sacrificing bit, but the rest just sounds sick. It sounds cool. You guys know how to party, that's what I'm trying to say. Right, so we got one more on the list before my camera dies. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. It is Allegheny, isn't it? Allegheny? It's going to be Allegheny, right? There's a GH. I'm going to go with Allegheny. Deep in the heart of West Virginia, I'm not going to sing it, there stands a massive Gothic building with a dark past. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Opened in 1864 and originally designed to house the mentally ill, this sprawling structure, also known as the Western State Hospital, housed thousands of patients over the decades, many of whom were subjected to inhumane treatment and cruel practices. Today, it's one of the most eerie and haunted places in the United States. Designed by architect Richard Andrews, the asylum's imposing structure was built to house up to 250 patients, but at its peak contained over 2,400. Originally intended as a model of progressive care, the asylum became a site of overcrowding and neglect. With poor conditions, staff shortages, and the lack of effective treatments, many patients suffered unnecessarily. Some of the most disturbing practices at Trans-Allegheny involved treatments that are considered barbaric by today's standards. Patients were often subjected to lobotomies, electroshock therapy, and even restraint in padded cells. Many were diagnosed with conditions that, by today's medical standards, might not even be considered illnesses, such as a post-traumatic stress disorder or depression. As the decades passed, the building fell into disrepair. When it was finally closed in 1994, the asylum's history of abuse left behind a heavy dark energy. Visitors today report hearing strange noises, feeling sudden chills, and even seeing apparitions of former patients. The site is now a popular destination for paranormal investigation and ghost tours, with some claiming to have captured evidence of lingering spirits. The building's massive size, its dilapidating conditions, fireworks are going off again, I apologise for any background interruption, and the tragic story of those who suffered here contribute to its haunted reputation. In fact, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is considered one of the most haunted places in the US, with stories of spirits appearing in the hallways, strange sounds emanating from empty rooms, and unexplained shadows moving in the corners of the eye. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is undeniably steeped in history, a place where the past mistreatment of the mentally ill lingers in the walls. If you're brave enough to visit, it's a chilling reminder of a time where mental health was mistreated and misunderstood. Asylums, man, we had to end it on an asylum. They're one of the creepiest places. When you think of like paranormal, haunted, that kind of stuff, usually it's an asylum or a hospital or something like that. Hearing it is one of the most haunted places in the US doesn't make me pull back from it. Like, I do want to go and see places like this. It would be sick. Like, I'd love to start visiting them. Anyway, that's the end of the list. I have no more to add today. There are many more that I could add, but that's completely up to you if you want to see more, if you want me to elaborate more on any of these. Especially Poveglia, I could probably do like a 30-minute video on that. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this video. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, that also helps. And let me know in the comments which one was your favourite, which one you'll be visiting, and which ones you didn't know about. As for the rest, thank you for making it this far. I really do appreciate it. See you all in the next one, whatever that may be. I don't even know myself. I've got a list and I'm just going off that. I love you all. Take care. See you in a bit.